All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. Now, hopefully we all know by now, the Seattle Seahawks have had a phenomenal offseason thus far. Last year, statistically, they were one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. However, they had one of the best offenses in the league, led by Mr. Geno Smith, comeback player of the year. But we saw a heavy emphasis on exactly what they needed so far in this offseason in free agency, signing big name defensive lineman Dramont Jones, bringing back Jerron Reed, former Seattle Seahawk, Devin Bush, low risk, high reward linebacker addition, Julian Love, versatile safety, defensive back, you name it. Bobby Wagner also returning to the Seattle Seahawks. So they focused on exactly what they needed to on the defensive side. Offensively, there's like a couple of points of emphasis. If you want to get into the nitty gritty quarterback long term, we can talk about that later on. We probably won't because Geno Smith is the man, and I fully believe Seattle will figure something out at that QB position. There's no shot that they take a QB at pick number 5 unless they are absolutely sold. We'll talk about that though. Evan Brown, center guard from the Detroit Lions, helping add to the depth and the strength of a hopefully continual rise of that offensive line. We could look at backup running back to be with Kenneth Walker. We could look at an additional wide receiver to pair with DK and Tyler Lockett. Those are more complementary pieces, though. Defense was the number one priority, and uncharacteristically of the Seattle Seahawks, this team made moves in the offseason. And we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty in today's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I appreciate you guys so much, Seahawks fans. If we could get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the world to me. It's my first video back in like a week. I've got a little bit of rust to knock off, just moved. And yeah, I appreciate you guys staying patient. But I gotta talk Seahawks because we're less than a month away from the NFL draft. And speaking of the draft, I saw a beautiful mock draft from PFF earlier today, and it included taking Jalen Carter at pick number 5. Jalen Carter is scheduled to visit Seattle, the Seahawks team, tomorrow, probably by the time a lot of you guys watch this video, Tuesday, April 11th. I get that his workouts weren't the prettiest, but Jalen Carter is an absolute stud, and he will continue to build on a struggled defensive line last year. If we look at rushing statistics, this was a bottom of the barrel in every single rushing category. So the addition of Dramont Jones helped also get some sacks. Jerron Reed bringing him back, that is or I shouldn't say bringing him back, getting him back to Seattle. Those are huge deals. You cannot forget about the new pass rush specialist in Brandon Jordan. He is an absolute stud in the football coaching industry. Over the past years, he has had a lot of college talent and individually trained some of the best young talent in both the NFL and college football. Joins the Seattle Seahawks coaching staff. Pair him up with guys like that I just mentioned, along with Darrell Taylor, entering his 3rd year. He's coming off 9.5 sacks with 4 forced fumbles. He's got my list circled. I'm looking at Darrell Taylor right now, and I'm thinking, why is nobody outside of Seahawks fans talking about Mr. Darrell Taylor? Darrell Taylor is a stud. He had a stud-esque season last year, and I don't think this is that hot of a take. I think Seattle Seahawks defensive line next year, at worst, I think they're going to be middle of the pack. If I had to make a prediction, I think they will be a top 10 defensive line next season. And you pair it with guys, new additions like Jordan Love, etc., Tariq Woolen, etc. Bobby Wagner's back. Like, this Seahawks defense next year is not going to be anything close to what they were last year. And still keep in mind, despite that San Francisco first round playoff where they were winning 17-16 at halftime, the defense at the end of the season, when things were clicking finally, they got stops when they needed to get stops. So there's a lot of things to be excited about on the defensive side, including all of those pickups and just the reoccurring talent on your team. But speaking of that mock draft I saw, So Seattle has the 5th pick and the 20th pick. So in that mock draft, they took Jalen Carter at pick number 5. Keep in mind, a lot of these boards right now, if you're like the Seattle Seahawks, for example, all of this stuff is penciled in. None of this is in pen. None of it is set in stone. Things are subject to change. They're bringing in Jalen Carter, so you can pretty much dispute all of those talks that the Seahawks aren't interested in drafting Jalen Carter, because I think Jalen Carter is one of the, if not the most skilled player in the entire NFL draft, but neither here nor there. We're moving on to pick number 20. In this hypothetical mock draft, they traded that pick for pick number 14 that belongs to the New England Patriots. And guess who they take? Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now I get it. The wide receiver room and the offense in general isn't a huge point of emphasis. You were a top 10 offense last year, led by Mr. Comeback Player of the Year in Geno Smith. But DK is a stud. Tyler Lockett is an absolute stud, which, by the way, in the last 2 seasons, Mr. Tyler Lockett has 212 targets. And guess how many drops he's had? 212 targets. Let me think of an answer in your head right now. The answer is 3. Let me know if you got that right, because I'm sure a lot of people did not get it, because that is an extremely impressive statistic. But nonetheless, it still could be improved. They have a nice 3 tight end lineup right now that really forces opposing personnel to get to essentially match up with them, and it lets Seattle get creative, especially with Kenneth Walker in your backfield. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's got that it factor. He's got that swagger. He has that superstar potential. So in this hypothetical, because I don't think JSN will be available. I know he didn't play this past year for Ohio State. If he did, he certainly wouldn't be available at pick number 20, but I think even just thinking he's going to be available at 20 is unrealistic. I get it, though. A lot of Seahawks fans, for good reason, because of the defensive stats last year, want these Seattle Seahawks to take 2 defense players with pick number 5 and pick number 20, and that's totally understandable. But I just really love that first-round mock draft, taking Carter at 5 and taking JSN at pick number 14. Speaking of the defensive line, real quick, this team's got to bring back Poona Ford. I know he didn't have a great year last year. However, the defensive line it's improved greatly. Trust me on this, especially with the talent and the personnel. It has improved so much. But 27 years old, why not bring Poona Ford back? Let me know what you guys are thinking about that down below in the comment section. But this offense is looking good, man. Kenneth Walker, he had over 1,000 rushing yards last year. He didn't even start the season. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. He had 9 touchdowns. This man is, and they still need a backup running back, but it's a deep class. There's still some free agents available out there, so I'm not worried about filling in that gap. But nonetheless, I really think Seattle is, I mean, honestly, this is pretty bold of a statement, but they're kind of my favorite right now, actually, for the NFC West next year. Not sure how funny joke. Not sure how 49ers fans are going to feel about that comment right there, but I'm feeling really good about the Seattle Seahawks. I know you guys are too. So let me know down below. Let's hear some hype for the Seahawks team. As always, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I try to post a bunch of Seahawks videos every single week, but like I said, just finished up a move here. We're about to move into the new place. So yeah, it's just, you get it. You know, if you know, you know. Nobody likes moving. So that's it. Appreciate you guys. Leave some comments down below. Peace.